Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology, coming to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, our world is all about human trafficking, social media exploitation, child pornography, sextortion, that's blackmail with a photo. We live in fighting crimes that involve human exploitation. And I'd like to tell you that, I'm taking some time off and it's slowing down and things are easier, but I have never, ever in my life been so busy. Now, I did have a big, wonderful birthday, one of those life-changing, monumental kind of dates. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it was a big birthday this week. So I did try to take some time off, and it gave me time to reflect about what I'm doing with my life and why on earth I would spend the rest of my human days doing this kind of thing. Everybody says, this is just insane what is taking place. Why don't you just kind of walk away? Well, I can't. I've been combating human trafficking now since 2008 is when it started. So going on 13 years now. And I have literally, over the last 13 years, sat with, hundreds of parents and kids. And, I've educated more than 500,000 people. And not that it's about me. It isn't about me. It never has been about me. It really is about empowering you. I'm getting old, so we got to empower you to take this stuff on. But it's not that simple either. It's one of those things where the subject of human trafficking is a very complex subject, and the solutions are not simple either. And getting to the truth of the matter is not all that simple either. So my name is Opal Singleton. I'm the president and CEO of an organization called Million Kids. People make fun of me because I can't seem to pronounce it, so you understand it. But it's Million, Million Kids, KIDS, because more than 1 million kids are trafficked throughout the world. Now, we're not a big organization. We are located here in Southern California out of Riverside, and I have traveled all over the United States educating on this subject because I am post-certified, meaning peace officer standardized training certified. I've completed the instruction courses and like that. And I have educated a lot of law enforcement and first responders, fire departments, code enforcement, even animal control. And I've done most of it from Riverside County, although I do a lot in support of San Bernardino County because they're very fine folks over there. But you'll often hear me say how blessed we are in Riverside County to have just incredible resources on this subject. And I would say I would put us against anybody in the United States. We have a human trafficking task force that I am their training and outreach coordinator. And that's a group of men and women who literally do nothing but handle human trafficking. Now, there are also groups like out of the district attorney's office and the sheriff's office in Riverside called Spider that handle social media exploitation and sextortion. That's like, your kid hopefully won't, but maybe gets a little crazy and sends off one of those naked photos, or they hook up with the wrong person and the next thing you know, they're being exploited. So that the Human Trafficking Task Force handles people that are put into forced prostitution, whether they're minors or adults, and they also handle forced labor situations. But if you're having a social media exploitation, that's handled through our group that is called Spider out of the sheriff department and Mike Hestron's office over there in DA. And they are all so busy. And the other one that I handle, of course, is combating what they call CSAM, commercial sexual exploitation. No, that's not right. Commercial abuse material, child sexual abuse materials, all these acronyms. Anyway, they all kind of run together because once you start to understand technology and how all of these things work, you start to realize that there is a common denominator in advanced technology. And a lot of times it's all about gangs or cartels or individual pimps who exploit our young people and our adults, and they keep the money, and they will send the money back to the Mexican cartel, or they put it off to some big gang organization that sometimes is ran out of prison. That ought to frost your cookies, does me anyway. But, it'll be individual pimps that prey on our girls. And so how do I educate you as the public so that you can make sure that your kids are safe? Because let's face it, this usually starts online, and it is our kids that are online. So we've had a whole bunch of cases. I'm going to take a couple here and add to them. One I talked about a couple of weeks ago is the Raleigh case that is out there. And this is Stephen Raleigh. He was picked up, and because he thought that he was actually involved with a 15-year-old minor. And what happened in that is some more people have come forward. They did a search warrant. This was on February 2nd, the Human Trafficking Task Force. This started out of Hemet. The search found numerous electronic devices with information pertaining to the case of the Stephen Raleigh cases. His charges included contact with a minor with the intent to commit kidnapping or sex offenses. Keep in mind, she's 15 and he is an adult. I can't remember how much, but I think he's like 23 at this point. So they picked him up, and since then, others have come forward. So if you know anything about the case of Stephen Raleigh in this case, he is looking to was apparently looking, and I want to say alleged because he has not been actually prosecuted and sentenced yet, but he had a history. This started with a 15-year-old girl here, but it turned out that he was picked up over in Arizona also, thinking that he's going to meet with a young girl over there. And since then, other girls have come forward. So this gives you an idea of how this kind of thing works. We have another case of a man named Christian Meeks, and we are looking for more information. If you want to go to millionkids.org and sign up for that insider alert, you can do that. We are looking for others that might have known Mr. Meeks in some capacity. In this case, it's first started with a 19-year-old out of Moreno Valley who came forward and said that she was being managed by a pimp who was seriously abusing her, beating her, giving her really a bad situation. And so we did the investigation, and then the task force, actually it was the task force did the investigation. And as they did that, they began to realize there was evidence there, and they got a search warrant and actually stopped him. They put him in jail and held him. And then as they're getting ready to kind of maybe look at a plea deal, it has come forward now that there may be other victims that he may have controlled in a position of him being the pimp and being abusive. So what you'll find there is that if you will go to Million Kids Insider Alert, sign up, give us your name, you will get these announcements of all these local cases. And it's really important that we have you follow us, because in many of these cases, we're looking for more information, and more information here locally where this broadcast goes to. And so that is a way that we can keep you educated. We announce all these cases. And that way, if you know anyone that was in the influence, if you will, under the influence of Mr. Christian Meeks, he has been accused, and again, we have to complete his sentencing, but has been accused of being a violent pimp, and a violent pimp out of Moreno Valley. And so we are definitely looking for more information. We had another case announcement coming out of St. Gabriel, but taking place in Pomona. There were actually 7 victims. Most of them were minors. One of them is a 14-year-old girl who is being put out for forced prostitution over on Holt Boulevard. And yes, we know exactly where that's at. If you're thinking of doing sex buying, you'll get acquainted with us out there. because that is not a victimless crime, especially when they're 14 years old. And in this case, this 14-year-old girl is 6 months pregnant. So this is exploitation at its very worst, right out here on the streets of the Inland Empire, taking place under our nose, and we need to do what we can to protect these victims. My name is Opal Singleton. We are up against that break, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you, you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back. This is Opal Singleton, Exploited Crimes and Technology. So thank you for all of you that listen to this show. I give you some really bad news some days, and this is really hard stuff to process. I was talking to my producer here at the break. You know, this case over here in Pomona is just not all that unusual. I mean, it just really isn't. And that's the sad part of it. And we're going to talk about what you do about this. So this is in Million Kids Insider Alert, just came out, I think yesterday, or sometime this week. Members of the San Gabriel Valley Human Trafficking Task Force, so there are multiple task forces, they were conducting an operation over on Holt Boulevard in Pomona. Now, there are locations within the Inland Empire that are known prostitution sites. Baseline over in San Bernardino and used to be Florida Avenue out in Hema, but they're cleaning that thing up. Ontario Holt Boulevard was just crazy. Used to be a long time ago University Avenue, but they picked that up. Well, let me tell you, there's a real focus on this. If you want to get picked up for trying to have sex with a minor, just go out to one of those blades and we'll pick you up. It's no problem. That's called a blade, where those girls walk up and down trying to find, street prostitution. And there is a real emphasis on this, especially San Bernardino and Riverside, but I'm really proud of them over on Holt Boulevard too, because what you don't realize is the way this works. And you're saying to yourself, there's 7 girls, one of them 16, and there was a 17-year-old, but some were 14, and the one that was 6 months pregnant. And you say, how does that work? How does a girl end up in that situation? Or even more interesting to me is, how can we keep our girls from ending up in that kind of situation? Well, the first thing we have to do is talk about sex buying, because if there isn't sex buying, there's no sex selling. If there's no buyers, how are you going to make any money on this thing? And I want you to know that sex selling and sex buying in the state of California are against the law, at least right now. Who knows with what they're doing with all these laws? They seem to pick and choose the laws they like and overlook the ones they don't. And I say to myself, what right do we have to do that? These are laws. I remember the day when a law meant it was a law. Now it seems to be more of an option, that you can contemplate whether you want. And I'm waiting for them to do away with the speeding laws, because that's the one I like to break. But anyway, it's just a phenomena to me that we've reached a point in our society. I'm on a roll. Sorry, I'm sharing with you here, but it's just a phenomena to me that our governors, our leaders can just come to you and say, we don't like this federal law. And we don't like that federal law. So we're not going to enforce these laws, but we're going to enforce those laws. Okay. And it's a kind of a unique time in all of history. It's kind of like trying to teach our kids that yes is yes and no is no, except for when it isn't. And I'll tell you when it's not going to be. It's like, well, how do you get consistency? Well, so how does all this work? Well, first of all, human trafficking is the fastest growing crime in America. That's true. It's been true ever since I've been in this business. California has always been the #1 state, and we have often twice as many cases as any other state. Although with what's going on in the border in Texas, we may be running in second place where this is over. I'll talk about that next segment. And so for the most part, what you have are foster kids, okay? 60% of young people in commercial sex, which is a fancy way to say prostitution, 60% of the kids that are in that under the age of 18 are from the foster care system. So what does that tell you? Well, they have a hole in their heart as big as the sky. They have been raised without family. They have been raised without an anchor relationship of somebody who believes in them. And that is going to make them vulnerable. So if you want to know how to protect your kids so that they don't want to get caught up with some gang member or some boyfriend who's going to put them into pimping and commercial sex, teach them self-worth, and pick some foster kids and help them realize that. It's an interesting experience I have in my life as I've come over the last 10 years to understand how vulnerable a child raised in a single parent household, or a child who has been violated, or a child who's had a negative experience online will be much more likely to be recruited into commercial sex than anybody who has not. And so the key here is to teach kids their value. And it's a fascinating thing. I've done this for years. When you talk to kids, one of the first things I share with kids is that self-esteem, it isn't like it's in your DNA or not, okay? It is a decision you make. And that's true whether you're an adult or a kid. Once you decide you're valuable, and sometimes you have to decide several times a day, by the way, but once you decide you're valuable, nobody can take that away from you. It is a gift you give yourself. And I went through this. I wasn't necessarily a child or an adult that had strong self-esteem. And then one day it hit me when I was reading, I believe I was reading Wayne Dyer. Any of you, Wayne W. Dyer, was that his name? Something like that. A long time ago. And he was a real light in my life when I read that it was a decision you make. And once you make that decision that you're valuable, nobody can change that. And if you start to doubt that, then make a new decision that you're valuable. And you will start to understand that that is a gift you give yourself. And once you decide that, it is yours to have for the rest of your life. And it will change how you approach your life. I often share this with kids. I just had this big birthday this weekend, and I thought to myself, how privileged I have been. Now, I was not born wealthy, okay? Nor was I born in a stable household. And I wasn't ever a cheerleader. I was never going to be a socialite, okay? But as I grew up to understand that I was a valued child of God, and once I made those decisions, I came to understand to myself that it's a gift I give myself, and I can give it to myself every day. And now that I've had this big birthday and I look at my life, I think how blessed I have been in my life. Hasn't always been easy, I'll say that. And those early learning days were challenging. But I look at all the incredible friends in my life who set a great example for me, who give me a pride of knowing that I'm a composite of who they are and who I am, brought together, finding the good in each other. You want to know how to get a kid so that they're not vulnerable to playing online or vulnerable to some sweet talking pimp coming along? The way that you do that is you look at them and you learn 4 words. And I believe they are the most important words on earth. And that is, I believe in you. And that is the motto for me and kids. I believe in you. Because think about what a pimp sells a girl. I believe in you, baby. I'm going to take care of you. I'll be your guy. I'm going to be there for you. And everybody's looking to be taken care of. But once you understand that you believe in yourself and you believe in others, you get an inner strength that just doesn't come any other way. And I'm so pleased when I look at my life over the last few years and the party that I had this weekend for my birthday, and I thought, how fortunate I am. I know some of the finest people on earth, that give me the strength and the pride in each other to know that when the chips are down, God will be with me and we will make this through it. And I am worth fighting for, and you are worth fighting for, and our foster kids are worth fighting for. And it is a free thing we can give them to simply look at them and say, I believe in you, because that's what they're looking for. Why are they on TikTok twerking away? Why are they on those dating sites? They're looking around to see who might believe in them, who might like them, who might think they're hot, who might think they're cute. And we need to begin to talk about what character is. Do you know character is every time you do what's right instead of what's easy, you get strength and strength of character. And it is that strength of character that our kids will look at that predator and go, you know what? I'm not giving in to this. I am too good for you. Get lost. I want to make something of my life. This is Opal Singleton, and we're going to be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton and I am your host. Our organization, Million Kids, is a smaller organization. We've been in business 13 years. We're a Gold Star, Guide Star company. We are accountable for what we do, and I so much appreciate each and every one of you that listen to the show and make donations and support our work. We literally cannot be on the air without you and the work that we do. And we try to use this microphone right here to educate you so that you can multiply the efforts that are out there. You know, I have all this knowledge that I put together, and most of the time I can find it. Although it's getting a little harder each day. But anyway, but sharing that knowledge with you is important. But what's really important is the fact that you can take that knowledge and you can do your part to change the world too. You know, it isn't always about me. Now, it is true that I read this stuff and study it and have it, and people go, well, how do I do this like you do? Well, fine, just put in 8 hours a day studying stuff and you can do it. And most people aren't that sick to do that. So, you know, pick and choose the pieces that help you and get your own plan, because you can make a difference in people's lives and it will multiply out there and it will make a big difference. So I was sharing with you about this case over here in Pomona. And so what happened is the San Gabriel Task Force was running reverse stings. In other words, they're setting up out there in Pomona looking for sex buyers, because we want to educate sex buyers that this is not a victimless crime. You know, most guys that are out there buying sex, and they're mostly guys, there's a few girls, but mostly guys, they're thinking, hey, she's there because she wants to be, and you know, she'll make a little money and I'll do her a favor. And I'm like, really? Anyway, that's against the law, and you will be arrested, and your name will appear in public, and along with your photo, and you will get to go to court, and yeah, maybe it'll end up as a misdemeanor and like that, but you're going to go through a whole lot of money before you figure it out. And so they're out there. I mean, there's a lot of activity in the Inland Empire, whether it's Pomona or Hemet or San Bernardino or Victorville or Thousand Palms. There's a lot of action going on right now. Being able to, you know, get the sex buyer, because many of them think they're going to have sex with a 14-year-old. In this case, a 14-year-old who happened to be 6 months pregnant. As they discovered, two females were sitting in cars engaging with men. One was identified as a 14-year-old girl who was 6 months pregnant and had been previously reported missing from outside the Pomona area. She most likely is a young person in the social services system or a foster child. So why do I mess up your Saturday afternoon telling you that? Well, I want you to understand how all of this works. Human trafficking is a huge subject. Sometimes it's an Asian massage parlor, and that's no offense to Asians, okay? It can be a Hispanic massage parlor. By the way, I know many, 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 many fine Asians. We had one marry into our family who we just adored. But these are people who are being exploited in these massage parlors. Many of these Asian massage parlors bring girls in, and they bring them in illegally thinking they're going to go to UCR or Cal State San Bernardino, and they never see school. They come in on a student visa, or maybe they're paying a smuggler to get in. That'll be the end of my show today. But you know, you get there, and these poor girls are like trapped in these massage parlors, and they're often ran by other women, and they are not solid businesses, and they deserve to be closed down. And if you have an illegitimate massage parlor in your area, you know, report it. Don't go in, don't get involved, but report it. I'll give you the number. In fact, I'll give it to you right now. 1-888-3737-888. That's 1-888-3737-888. 888. And first of all, I'm not against massage parlors. I love a good massage, okay? And there are many legitimate massage parlors, but you will see some that are seedy. Okay, they don't open up till 4 in the afternoon, and all the action's taking place in the evening, and they don't have a bill of sale, a menu of services on there, and you'll see men going in and out, and they won't usually have a website. And so if you see that in your area, we've actually closed down 2 of them out in Palm Desert recently, just last week, as a matter of fact. So it can be that kind of thing, but it can also be housewives who think they're going to pick up some extra money, or, by the way, it can be males in forced prostitution. It can be the LGBTQ community in forced prostitution. A lot of people don't realize that men get solicited in, they think they're going to be porn stars or amateur pornographers. You heard me 2 weeks ago. If you follow me, they just had to take over 10 million videos down off of Pornhub of people who thought they were going to be amateur pornographers, and many of them were our kids picking up some extra money. But those photos went all around the world to child porn sites, especially if they're underage. So what is happening here in Pomona is that you have 7 young people, most of them minors, and one of them pregnant. So you say to yourself, how does a pregnant girl end up in forced prostitution? Well, there is a market for that, number one. Number 2 is these pimps will get a girl pregnant so they can control her for the rest of her life. I mean, think about the power of this. When your pimp is your baby's daddy, you want a daddy for your baby. Okay, but this one is controlling you and putting you out there and abusing you. And the thing that the sex buyer doesn't seem to understand is the girl does not get the money. 83% of commercial sex in Southern California on these sex sites are female. Now, when you get into being blackmailed with a naked photo, there's more males. But these girls are being forced into these acts, and you pay the money, but the money either goes to a pimp or gang or a cartel member. And quite frankly, many of these people will snap your photo, and you can very quickly become famous. So you ought to be thinking about that. But these pimps will get these girls pregnant so that they can control that girl for the rest of her life. Either they will put the child in the system and drug the girl so that she feels like she has to earn the money to get it back, or sometimes she is allowed to keep her child, but she is forced to provide the services out there to support that child. So this is what's happening over here in Pomona. I'm very, very proud of the San Gabriel Human Trafficking Task Force for taking this on and going out and doing it. So much of what is happening when they're U.S. citizens that are usually our young people is it starts out with wanting to be loved, wanting somebody to believe in you, thinking you're going to pick up some easy money, and the next thing you know, you're absolutely trapped. And you don't know how to get out. And that is the work of our task force. And quite frankly, that's much of my work. A lot of my work is to go into the schools and help kids understand how this works. It's also to educate the parents about how the internet works and what kinds of devices they're using and technology they're using, and to pay attention to who your child's talking to and help to understand all about the grooming process. I've actually got a couple of books out about that have done quite well. One of them is called Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers. That was my first book. It is still apropos, even though it's a little bit older, but it is still taking place with all the technology. The second one is Societal Shift. By the way, Family Services just ordered another 40 of those today. Thank you. Appreciate you a whole lot. And but I'll sign those books and I can educate you on how this all works. You see, part of it is our kids. Part of it is adults who start out being amateur pornographers or little webcam sex and find themselves being blackmailed or seduced into a world of prostitution. And then some of it are, Asian and Hispanic people brought in for massage parlors. But sometimes it's also those unaccompanied minors. And that's where I'm going to close out here in so that you understand the impact of what's taking place at our border, because it isn't just at the border. These young people are connected to coyotes, and they're being moved into our communities and into our schools. And the problem of it is they are in debt bondage. They owe somebody money, and now they're living and walking among us, especially at our schools and with our kids. And they're having to find a way to pay back that coyote. And so what is going on at the border doesn't stop at the border. It comes right here into our neighborhood. And I'm going to approach that in the final hour. This is going very fast today. So stay with us. We're up against that break. This is Opal Singleton, and we're going to be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty, 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. So we've talked a little bit about how all of this is taking place in our community. A lot of it is our kids, and that's kids in the foster care system, our kids who play on the internet. They get one of those fantasy relationships. They sneak off and they find themselves with a gang member, and the next thing you know, they're out there doing tricks for money, and it will change their life forever and ever. And sometimes it's, Asian massage parlors, Hispanic massage parlors where the girls are tricked. But here's where I'm really, really concerned. I am very concerned about what's happening at our border, and I don't want to get all that political with you because I have supporters who care about kids that walk both sides of the political aisle. I know how I feel about it. That's all that's necessary. But what's really important for you are the facts. Now, I read an article today written by the governor of Texas, so he's obviously a Republican and a strong, well-spoken Republican who I highly, highly respect. But some of the numbers in this article just hit me between the eyes, and I want to share them with you because this will end up in your community. So what he's talking about is what's gone on at the border from a Texas perspective. And I really can't tell if this is all U.S. numbers or just Texan numbers, but he was interviewed on Fox with Bartera. I know what she looks like. She's a financial reporter. Barter, I never can say her name right, but anyway, she's an excellent lady for what it's worth. And as he's talking to her, he's saying that, or the reporter is saying that the cartels are making, I want you to hear this, $400 million a month. $400 million a month. So 400 million times 12 is like what? 4 gazillion, billion. I don't know. That would be 4.8 million, I guess. Billion, 4.8 billion. Now, these are just cartel. This is underground money. Keep in mind, when you get that level of money, you are growing by leaps and bounds. And it's not all going in some vault in Mexico City. It is, procuring more fentanyl, procuring more drugs, procuring more arms. It's all about money laundering. She's basing that based on the fact that somebody is charging $4,000 a person to cross the border, taking 2,000 people a day. In some places, there's a lot more. One Border Patrol guard apprehended a group from China. Now, this is really where I want you to get your attention, because I'm not against Chinese people. I've been to China, and many of the people are being exploited by their own people. And they're lovely people. But what is happening is we have a tendency to think vertical or in a parallel thought pattern. In other words, we have a tendency to imagine, because we're not at the border, that everybody who's coming through the border is, this line's from Guatemala and this line's from El Salvador and this line is here. And we don't have a line in our mind from China or Egypt or Africa or like that. It isn't like they're all, that we're running a legal process and all the people from Guatemala get in this line. No, you're seeing that these Chinese people are coming in and they're paying huge amounts of money. Let me keep reading here. One border guard apprehended a group from China, including individuals like scientists, engineers, and doctors who paid more than $50,000 to be brought into Texas illegally. Once the more than 100,000 people entering the U.S. illegally every month are processed by Border Patrol, they are released into the country, given airfare and bus tickets, and most are enrolled in the Refugee Resettlement Program and given a pathway to citizenship. I don't know if that line is true or not. This is Marie, that I can't say her last name anyway. And she's a solid reporter. I have every reason to believe she's looked at her facts. I don't know if it's really true that they're given airfare and bus tickets and resettled. Here's what I do know. Anytime you break the rule of law, it's going to cost you. And if you're coming in from China, it's going to cost you a lot more because you are dealing with the cartel. So anytime that you are doing this, what you're going to see is that there is going to be a lot of fraud. And you're not going to just pay these people off and they hit your note that you owe them and they say paid in full, have a nice life. These people come in, the cartel comes in with them. Okay. And that is the problem. I know many people who have entered the United States without documentation, and they are wonderful people who I would just absolutely swear by and trust. But I know for every one of them, there's at least another one out there who are exploiting those wonderful people. Because when you start doing business with cartels and people like that, you are going to pay a price and you will continue to be exploited. And not just here in the United States, where they now take kids who owe money to a coyote and enroll them in schools. What is going to happen is that their families back home are also in danger. So nobody's winning this. Nobody, not the people coming in and not the people who are making the money. It is not a winnable game. Anytime you break the rule of law, people are going to pay with their lives. Right now, they were projecting that in March 2021, they encountered Border and Customs encountered 171,000 just in March. And the reason I'm taking your valuable time on Saturday to talk about that is to help you understand that that number, let's say only half of those people are great people. That's 80,000 people coming in 1 month to our country that is going to owe their soul and their family's debt to someone who is in the underground economy, who is probably going to try to use them in a way where they will get exploited. And some of those people will end up being sexually exploited, man, women, and child. Yes, men get sexually exploited, even in the U.S., okay? And that is going to take place in our community. And so when I look at this, I say to myself, how do we beat this? How do I educate enough of you all to take this on? Certainly, I can take on your teenagers, okay? And I ask you to do the same. We're an army together to understand how not to have our kids be exploited. And we can certainly advise sex buyers, and we can keep an eye out for illicit massage parlors. But when you have nearly 200,000 people coming in a month, that most of them have some sort of debt to someone who got them in here, regardless of whether they're from Hungary or Russia or Asia or, Guatemala. If they came in illegally, they owe money to somebody. And so what we are doing is absorbing a large number of people who are likely to be exploited. And that same number of people very likely might end up seducing or exploiting our own kids if we don't educate them about how not to get caught up in it. Well, this is a complex subject, and I appreciate you taking the time. I really want to say how much you as an audience means to me. This is tough business, and, there are days I think I need to get out. But, this is not slowing down. It's accelerating. It's like we're having a tsunami of exploitation coming into our shores. And you say to yourself, we got to keep paddling. We got to keep going as much as we can. Thank you to each and every one of you that donate to Million Kids. Please go to millionkids.org, MILLION, millionkids.org, and hit that donate button. I would truly, truly, truly appreciate all your prayers and your support and all your efforts to keep your kids and your grandkids, to let them know how proud you are of them and let them know the way you don't get taken advantage of and end up being exploited is you stand the high road. You know who you are, what you stand for, and you be proud of what you are and don't be taking those shortcuts. That's the way we will change the world. In the meantime, we're going to need to do the same thing for a lot of those people that are coming in that are scared, and they owe money to somebody. And we need to do what we can. They're human beings, but we also need to do what we can to reinforce the rule of law. If we don't reinforce the rule of law, our United States will never be the country that people wanted to come to, because it will be no different than where they came from. This is Opal Singleton, and the show is Exploited Crimes and Technology. We come to you every Saturday at 3 o'clock. This show is archived at millionkids.org. You can share that with everyone you know. We'd appreciate it a whole lot. So this week, put your arms around your kids and let them know how proud you are of them. Look at your spouse and tell them you love them. Give each other a hug. These are interesting days, and all we have is one another. You folks have a great week. See you next Saturday, 3 o'clock.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.